Hi everyone, I'm Meg Scullin and welcome to another Afterglow Musical Memories from Beaver Dam Area Community Theater. I know David Sina is typically in the host seat and does a hilarious job with this intro, but I was ridiculous enough to take the reins and give him the night off. So I apologize for this not being as amazing as his intros typically are. In 2013, I was fortunate enough to be cast as Natalie Goodman in BDACT's spring production of Next to Normal. That show changed my life for the better by introducing me to new friends, new theater experiences, and new expectations for myself as a performer. Like most shows, we became a family, and this small group has always been extra special to me. For the past 7 years, we've talked about getting back together, but you know how life just gets in the way. I am beyond excited to have this cast back together, so I hope you enjoy our long-awaited reunion and memories about our Next to Normal experience.
Rick?
Hey, hey.
Hi,
Hi family.
This is too awesome.
Yeah.
It really is.
Ryan's coming.
Yeah.
Hi, Sonny boy.
Is that the Diana wig I'm seeing behind you?
It is. I thought I'd put it out here just for, memory's sake.
Oh, well, welcome everybody. I am very excited to have the cast minus one person. We're still waiting on him to get home from work, but to have the cast of Next to Normal. So like I said in my intro, I'm Meg Scullin, and I played Natalie Goodman in Next to Normal.
I'm Holly Sina, and I played Diana.
I'm Ken Sina, and I was musical director and also pit director.
I'm Rick Ramirez, and I played Dan.
I'm Ryan Moldenhaur, and I played Gabe.
I'm Jay Wilkins, director, and I played Dr. Fine and Dr. Madden.
So Jay, like the first question that popped into my mind, why did you choose the show? Because being the director and having that vision and bringing it to a place like Beaver Dam, why? What made you want to do that?
Tori and I went out to New York City in 2009, and we saw Next to Normal. And the funny story about that is we were just looking for a show to go to see on a Monday night. For those of you who don't know the show, it's essentially about it's a 6-person cast with a family of 4, and the mother is dealing with bipolar psychiatric condition, and basically it's caused because her son died at a very young age, and she kind of had a snap then from that. And Tori and I, when we were at intermission, just both bawling, and it was just a fantastic show. And so I pitched it to Ken, and I said, "You've got to listen to the music. It's fantastic. You and Holly are gonna love it." Ken calls me and he goes, Jay, this is no way we can do this. There's swearing throughout, and it's we only listened to about the first 3 songs. It's just horrible. We can't do this in Beaver Dam. And I said, please just listen a little longer. I'll be back, I think, like an hour later, and very quiet. He goes, Jay, that's fantastic. It's heavy. That's how it started.
Now we're going to go to Ken and Holly and let us know what your whole feelings and dealings in this were.
Well, the funny thing is, we had always done season tickets to the Milwaukee Rep. It was kind of our anniversary present to each other, so we'd get to go to 5 fantastic shows during the year. We got a new artistic director at the Rep, and we're like, well, who is this guy? What kind of show is he picking out? And the first show he had on the docket was Next to Normal. I'd never heard of it. We got a recording of it, and we listened to the first number. We're like, we can't go see this show. I was raised in a home that if you talk like that, you got your mouth washed out with soap. I mean, and we wouldn't have been able to invite any of our friends to come and see us because they would have been like. So we actually canceled our Rep tickets for that year because of Next to Normal. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when Jay called to ask Ken about it, I said to him, I think that's the show we canceled our Rep tickets for. And so you did encourage us to listen to it. And I don't know if at that point you said we could take the swear words out. I think you may have said that.
And I really liked how the authors had the options of, or ideas if you didn't want to do the swear words or they weren't appropriate for your audience. Here's some alternatives. So as soon as we saw that, it was like, oh yeah, we're in.
Rick, do you want to talk about how you got involved or what made you want to get involved in this?
Yeah, I could.
Good. Okay. Whenever you...
I actually remember when Jay and Tori were talking about when they got back from New York. I think Jay, you called and said, "Oh my, you are not going to believe this show that Tori and I just happened to find." Then you gave me some music from it, and I was kind of like, "Wow, that is such powerful music." And then I remember going to a show down in Janesville to see it. I had never seen a show like that in my entire life, ever. This is just so deep and so different from anything I had been a part of. I just wanted to be a part of it somehow.
For me, a huge thing was not only like the story and the music and stuff, but I hadn't ever been in a musical that had like 90% singing. And to me, that was a huge thing. Ryan, you want to go?
I had never heard any of the music from the show, but I think it was Sina's that reached out to us and like, hey, we're gonna do this show in Beaver Dam, and thinking that you should audition. Is working with a small cast is something that I had never done before, being a part of high school shows where it's like, the more the merrier, and just being able to work with a tight knit group of awesome people was just super, super, super cool.
To this day, you guys, I still consider it the finest show I've ever been in. So, and Ken, it wouldn't have happened without you.
Musically, I was really concerned, not so much of people on stage, but for an orchestra pit, for the pit that's going to play this, not being from Beaver Dam and not knowing the musicians in the area. That was a real tough concern for me, because I feel musically, okay, I'm on board, but do we have people that could play this? Jay, how did all the musicians come about? I can't remember.
Yeah, we had worked with Dave Sina and Jeff Morose and Randy Benway.
Yes.
And Carissa, I knew from town, and she had worked with me in Diary of Anne Frank. And I knew she was a very accomplished keyboardist. And she was, when I asked her about the show, if she knew it, I was actually asking to see if she was interested in the part of Natalie. And because, piano player, and she could sing, and but I don't think she had the time for that. And so she wanted to take on the keyboard part because she loved the show. And the great part about that was we had her from the beginning, and then seamlessly with you, Ken, she went over to the pit side and,
Yes.
knew the show. And then our two string players, Eric Dittman and Abby Bordock, they came on through the orchestra, and they played cello and violin and did a great job. And that really is the part that just tugs at you throughout the show when it gets those nice quiet string parts. But they did a great job right from the get-go.
For most shows, you work with recordings for a long time until you can finally get your pit together. And that normally isn't until the last 2, maybe 3 weeks of a show. So the fact that we came in to start working on vocals, and within the first week, maybe 2, we were already working with them. It was such a cool experience to have such professional players who knew their stuff already. And if they didn't know it, they were faking their way through it very, very well. Just to be able to do that, it was that to me was one of the coolest experiences, coming in, going, all right, we'll see, how this rehearsal goes. And it was like, I want to go back. We're done already. More of that, which is an amazing thing so early.
Like Ryan was saying, we've been a part of some shows with huge casts and huge orchestras and all of this stuff. I was actually kind of more intimidated, I think, personally, being a small cast of 6 people and a small orchestra and everything, thinking, man, I'm going to have to really be on top of this unless we get, people who aren't so good. So I kind of came in to that first rehearsal thinking, well, we're going to gauge and see how good is everybody. Do you have to bring your A game or can you bring your A minus? Well, the first rehearsal, I hear Meg sing and I'm like, huh. Well, there goes an A minus. That's not there. That's an A plus. Then I hear Ryan sing and I'm like, well, there's an A plus also there. And then I hear Holly sing, which I remember Holly from, Don't Hug Me. I think I remember turning to you, Jay, and saying, man, I think I'm going home. This is crazy. But being a part of that group, I have never been a part of a tight-knit cast in any show I've ever been a part of.
Did you have a favorite thing about your character?
For me, Diana's complexity was just something as an actress to sink my teeth into. I mean, her highs and her lows and the despair she felt and the anger she felt and, all those things. And then she had moments of the manic highs where she's just kind of off the wall that way. And it was a challenge and it was really, I don't want to say fun. It was rewarding, I guess, is the best word I can think of.
Speaking of alive, that was one of the things that I really found super interesting about my character, and never playing a role that's on stage but not really there and can be seen by some people but not by others. And like there's just such a cool thing about that sometimes it was like I was sneaky and sometimes it was like, it was just a really different character for me, and just really cool to play that and be this being, this spirit, this person that is there but not there, and just a really different thing, and getting to interact with people on stage in different ways. Like Diana and him can see each other and stuff, but nobody else can, and just super unique.
Was I supposed to say something positive about my character? Okay. My character, how you listen to a recording? It is so fun to be able to crescendo or to change and to get that music driving, or pull back and have the musicians do exactly what you're telling them to do, because this person on stage is doing the same thing.
Yeah, my character was the least deep of all of them. I mean, it was very similar to what I do. I'm a doctor with crazy rock and roll guy inside.
When you asked the question about funniest thing off stage or on, I literally had no time off stage to do anything funny because it was just so little time to do changes and get back out there. So I love that rock star scene because it was just a breath of fresh air for me to watch Jay and his comic genius and just respond to it. Yeah. Oh, I loved that scene. When we were listening to the recording the first time, at the point where Diana comes in and says at the end, well, anyway, I'm leaving. We both were like, what? You can't leave this guy. He supported you through. I mean, it just tore us apart. So when I think about my favorite parts of the show, I hated Diana at that moment because leaving Dan was like the worst thing. But like you said, Jay, that moment with Natalie, when she can finally tell her about Gabe, that I cried every night at that part too. Just, when Natalie's saying, yeah, sure, now you say all this stuff. And then she says, wait, Natalie. And she tells her about Gabe. And it seemed like such a step forward in her healing. And then Natalie sings back to her, well, okay, well, next to normal's okay, And it was like, yes. But I loved that moment. I also love the scene where Dan and Diana, where she's remembering Gabe, and that how emotional that was, that whole scene about driving to the hospital, and oh gosh, that ripped me out every night. And the suicide scene with Gabriel. Oh gosh, I mean, I was, I think, a noodle after every performance, because it was so heavy, but so beautiful at the same time.
The most memorable part for me, just in this show, is the part where, I actually come to terms and I give up the idea that I see Gabe, and then we can actually, when Ryan and I were able to interact together, I think that was such a powerful, magical moment. I mean, I had tears every night, real tears, and it really wasn't hard to get into it, and it was hard to get out of it. Actually, at the end of the show, once I think we got through it, there were so many moments that I could say were my favorite parts, but that one moment right there, I think every night I had trouble to keep it straight without getting too caught up in the moment.
But you're right about the reconciliation scenes at the very end of the show. I was really not a part of, but those were far and away my favorite times that I was off stage, when Diana and Natalie reconcile, and then it goes to Diana and Dan, and then it goes to Dan and Gabe. And I didn't ever want to be up by you, Ken, because I knew from what everybody was saying, it was just a mess up there in the loft with all, lots of emotion up there.
Some of my favorite things were when we did get to be off stage, like the you don't know between Diana, Dan, and Gabe, and Brian and I got to be up like in the loft every night, and that's like a rock song. And we just got to be up there, and we each took our own part every single night that we were lip syncing to. And like, I just like, that was such just a fun connection for Brian and I. And although, the pit was super focused on what they were doing, I hope it just gave them that little more like, yeah, we're really rocking out. And I always loved Maybe, because there were many nights that I would have to tell myself again to like refocus on what I was supposed to be doing, because I was so entranced by Holly. And at that point in my ability to make myself cry, I was very bad at it. So I would have to focus very hard to try and do that. But I do remember one night in particular, and this is one of those like, oh, gross moments. One night I could not stop crying during that scene. And everything, and two really bad things happened, two big no-nos. One I couldn't handle, but when I cry, my nose is like a floodgate. Would not
remember that.
Oh, I was like, oh my gosh, did you? I thought I had blocked my microphone out so that I could go where I was going. I could go with my nose. I must have just caught the edge of it, and all of a sudden I heard in the speakers. Really? And I was so, if I was already red, I was super red at that point. And I had to be ready right at the end of that song. Like, I would already have, I think I'd only have like one button left on the jacket, and Holly, you'd like pull it off of me as quickly as you could in the dark, so I could sprint up the stairs with hopefully not falling down, and be ready at the point where the spotlight hits. And I just remember that night after going, and just knowing I had so much snot on my face.
Oh, no.
My whole sleeve before you could pull, and I went, this is what I love about behind the scenes things.
Yes, right.
You learn all these weird little things. But the whole way up the stairs, off my face, and poor Brian.
Oh, man.
Got a snot full, like a snotty face because of me when I had to kiss him.
Wow.
That was a good one, Megan.
Yeah.
Don't edit that story out. That was a keeper.
I loved being off stage and just the traffic pattern in that old place, like having to be up here and then go down here and then have this happen, and just all of your like clothes, even though we were all just wearing like normal pedestrian clothes for the most part, having like all these costume changes to make it seem like a different day and this and that, and just having it be like, all right, my light jeans are over the railing and then I have to go get those and bring them over here, and that just the pattern of all of that happening backstage is just a super fun thing too, especially in that space that's very unique.
One of my favorite onstage bits was, so, you know, the first half kind of beats you up, and then at the beginning of the second half is when Diana's going to go for her ECT treatment. And so it's been pretty heavy, and the three doctors down there working on Holly ended up being, you know, myself and Rick and Ryan. And so then the strobe light goes on, and there's lasers everywhere, and the girls are up above talking, you know, like they're in the ether, and then we're dancing around on stage with the different body parts, you know, that have blown into, you know, all sorts of different things.
Yeah.
The audience would laugh at that, and at first I was like, well, it's not funny, and then I'm like, well, I guess they kind of need this too, you know. So then it actually became very fun then to just do that scene.
Those are great moments of comic relief.
Mm-hmm.
That definitely was one. And also when you were the rock star, you know, that would just release the pressure of the audience, everything. And it was so fun to see it come and then hear it, you know, it was done well. I loved the direction and all.
As I watched the show a couple weeks ago, just to kind of remember, and one of my favorite parts where I'm not on stage, and I wish Brian was here because I loved Henry's sweet character and his pursuing of Natalie. I feel like he was exactly what she needed, except for the drugs. But to know that she was seen and loved. And I just loved how he kept pursuing her in a gentle way. I'm perfect for you. I'll be there when you start doing all the things your mom is doing. It's like he committed to her. It was just beautiful. I love how they wrote that, and you two did it so well.
I don't know, with such a great cast and people, I think my favorite moments backstage were just asking everybody, did I just miss my cue? No, that wasn't me. Was that me?
Thinking of how like smoothly things ran, like I do have to talk about a lot of the other people that were involved, like Black Beauties in particular. We had Yvonne and Sarah and Jeannie, and that just actually those were the first. I know Jeannie and Sarah for sure were like the first two people I met when we came in for auditions. Yvonne did such a good job of like getting all the changes seamless and making sure we knew what we were supposed to be doing. And I had one emergency that I, for some reason, put on the wrong costume about 4 scenes too early, and just went sprinting to them with the clothes that I needed, saying, get me out, get me out, get me out. And zoop, they saved my patootie.
The people that really helped me on, you know, the other side of things was Chris Westfall had the setup, you know, a month before we needed it for this other show. And he built that thing strong like a house because he's a carpenter like that. That thing was 9 feet off the deck, but that thing didn't have a safety rail on it. And so that was a little concerning until we danced on it for the 50 show, and then it felt pretty safe. And then Don Gassner was our publicist, and selling this show was not an easy task. It's not one of those things that it's going to be like, oh, this is going to be an enjoying night. You know, it rips at you a little bit, so it's hard to sell that. He did a great job on that. Alicia Baruden helped him with that on the producer side of things. And then, yeah, Ron Wilkie on lights. And there was over 100 light cues in the first half alone of this show. And so I just kept adding layers to the technology. And, you know, we had lasers, strobe lights. I think we used every instrument dimmer that we had. We added another dimmer pack for the uplights. We added the TV screens for both the pit and for the cast to see you up in the pit as well.
Right.
And wireless mics. I mean, we had the full technological gambit. But the thing I'm really proud of is when you watch that show, I'm really proud of the lights. They're well lit, but they set the tone for different things. You have upper and lower scenes happening at the same time that are lit. And Rick, if you ever go back to that very last scene of yours when Diana has just left, I think I had the lights down to about 1 or 2%. And just that one light that was on, and Natalie comes in and she says, "Why are we in the dark?" And he goes, "Well, you know, she's gone." And then she starts at the, "We need some light," ding, and the light pops right on. And I mean, that stuff took us, you know, hours and hours to get all those things just right.
I do remember there being a couple of nights where I would, you know, look at my phone or something and be like, "Hey, Jay, it's only 3:30 in the morning. Should we call it?" Jay'd be like, "You know, I think we can get one more string of lights under here."
Yeah, we had some pretty late nights there, you and I. Your questions, you asked what I was nervous about. You know, 9-foot stage, live cake on fire. You know, those kind of things were small. I think the biggest thing I was concerned about really was that me being in the show was not going to affect the overall quality of the show. And you know, Ken and I talked about that at length. You know, I called up lots of people to play the part of the doctor. We couldn't quite just get the right fit. And so, you know, I was really at ends about that. I said, I really don't want to do it. I really don't. And Ken said, just go ahead and do it. Just don't look back. Let's just go ahead and do it, and we'll move on. And I wrote that in I looked at this post-director's report that I put in for the theater after the show was done. And it says, "What decision did you learn from that you wouldn't want to repeat next time?" And I said, although I felt we make the correct decision for this show, I would recommend that a director not be in the show unless it's absolutely necessary. To pull it off, the role should be small. You should have another director to give you a second set of eyes, and use videotaping to your advantage.
One of the greatest moments for me, again, too, was when Jay was on stage, and Jay said to me, "Ken, would you mind giving me some directions and watching at the same time?" And that Jay was just like, "Oh, I would love to." It was so neat to use everyone's skills to the best of our abilities to help the ability of everybody. I remember that moment so well when Jay said that to me. So thanks, Jay. That was really cool.
I don't know if people knew that like Ken was my choir director throughout middle school and then my musical drama director in high school. So it was just very cool to like come back after lots of time like in college and then come back and do a show with him again was just a really cool thing. The scariest moment of the show for me on stage was like doing 8 shows is a lot. My part was pretty screaming high at times, and like teaching all day and doing that at night was just like straining on my voice. And just by the end, it was like, I like hope that these notes actually come out of my mouth. I remember that I like flipped around the verses. I like sang verse 2 and then I like sang verse 1 and I had to flip them or whatever. But I knew that like people had lines that like rhymed with stuff that I had or whatever. And it was just like that moment of like, that comes out of your mouth and now I have to try to make this work and make it rhyme, but flip the verses and keep all of that like going while like remaining in character after the show. Like, oh my goodness. And he's like, I was right there with you. I knew that you were just gonna like get it. And I just trusted that you were gonna have the right words when you needed to have them. And yep. Here we go. Like, I just remember that after that show, but that was pretty scary.
He saved me one night too. Right before, I think it was the first song. Oh, I'm being electrocuted. Oh and I go out up above and I was getting ready for my entrance, blanked on the first lyric, completely just like, what is it? And he's busy directing, and I go up to him, what's my first lyric? You know what I mean? I don't know how he did that. He kept doing what he was doing, and he looked up my page, and he gave me my first lyric. I just needed the first 2 words, and I was fine. But man, did I blank out. But what made me most nervous about this show, though, was you know, I'm a lyric operatic soprano, and the belty songs, you know, it was hard for me. And I remember both of our daughters, who were professional actresses, said, "Mom, you have to just do it in your way. You can't try to be someone else. Take it, do it in a way that's not going to hurt you." You know, and so I just had to be okay with that. Even though I knew I didn't sound like the woman on Broadway. It's like, okay, that's okay. That's not who I am, you know. So, but that made me really nervous.
So we're always hoping that we can affect people, but I always kind of go off of what people come up to at the end and say. I remember somebody saying, you know, you've done all these funny things, and we were expecting this to be a comedy. As soon as you come traipsing down the steps, we've never seen you take on a serious role before, ever. And they're like, we will never forget this experience, this emotional roller coaster that this cast put us through was such a treat for them to be a part of.
But I also had some people come to me who actually suffer with bipolar, and they just thanked us for doing the show and for a very realistic portrayal of what it is they go through, the ups and downs, what their life is like. They felt validated, I guess, but they were so thankful that we were educating the community. And I think that's the most important thing you can do with a show like that.
I have to admit, you know, Holly did say we started to watch it 2 weeks ago. And as we all know, that people who came and afterwards, you know, there were some talk sections. Remember that, Jay? And I thought that was so helpful. For me now, dealing with a life disease issue, it is at a different stage for me when I start to watch it. You know, we can all say, "Oh, I understand," but no, you don't know. So when I got to that part and Holly were watching the show together, I mean, I left the room. I was done. I can't do this. Because now for me, being the person I am, my godly strength is what my strength is. And I don't need to look at the negative parts of it pulling me down, because that's not what life's about. So when you do those life issues, swear words or not, the intensity, the emotional part of it, even the comic relief, all that is real. And we got the chance to do something together, a small cast that was so real that it touched us just as much as it would have touched someone who literally has, you know, that bipolar disease.
I was really hoping Brian would make it in here, but
Me too. Yeah, put his picture up. There he is. Brian, we miss you.
The one last thing I can share about this whole thing is I think I can take something very positive from each and every one of you individuals that were a part of this. And I'll start with Brian Toole. Watching him, I have performed with him since he was a little kid in Beaver Dam now. And watching him grow into the actor that this show made him, it just from starting, it was amazing to watch that. Meg, your just fantastic personality is just infectious. It really is. I mean, that's why I love working with you still. Ryan, oh man, Ryan comes in with this level of professionalism. I'm just like, God, I want to be like him. That was just so awesome to be a part of that. And Ken and Holly, you two have been so inspirational in everything that I still pursue as a performer, as a director. Everything I take a lot from people that I really respect. And you guys were an immediate respect. When I met you, I was like, I'm inspired by these people. And I will always take something off of every one of you. I mean, and that's just phenomenal. Jay, I just, you know, the organization that he has, I've never been a part of a set where we auditioned on the finished set. I mean, that kind of thing is, you strive for that. So thank you to all of you for that.
Oh, you too.
Likewise.
I mean, a debt of gratitude to all of you for making this come out, and I'm very proud of it. Proud of you.
I think we were all very proud to be a part of it as well.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It goes both ways.
Sure does.
I'm so glad that we got this opportunity. I'm very sad that Brian Toole could not be with us. But one positive thing about all this pandemic stuff is we've been saying we wanted to get together for a long time, and this just gave us the excuse to do it. So thank you for watching. Please, if you find it in your hearts, please go to bdact.org and donate towards the theater so that we can have more of these types of reunions, because we keep the theater open and running even during this crazy pandemic stuff. And check out the website as well, and the YouTube pages and the Facebook pages, because there's lots of fun stuff that people are trying to do during this time virtually. So please keep those things in mind, and thank you so much for joining us.